taking over the JFK Weekly Announcements. Hello JFK, these are some of our kids here today, kindergarten through 5th, and we'll start off with Maddie. What are you doing in kindergarten, Maddie?
I'm learning new Star words.
What kind of Star words?
I see, like, can and the.
Those are hard words. Are you good at them?
Yeah.
Good. Let's move on to first grade. First grade, how are you, Maya?
Good.
What do you do in first grade?
I go on my iPad and I go in the seesaw and send stuff to Mom and Dad.
Really? Does Mom and Dad send stuff back?
Yeah.
That's cool. And what do you do anything else?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff?
Well, one day we pulled stuff out of my teacher's bag.
Really? That's cool. Let's move on to second grade. Second grade. Noah, what are you doing in second grade?
I'm reading Jack and Daisy books.
Really? What kind of, what do they write about?
Hard words, like they go on adventures and
Really?
find things.
That's cool. Now, are you doing anything else?
I usually do math on the iPad.
That's cool. Let's move on to third grade. Delaney, what do you do?
In third grade, we switched for math to different classrooms, and all of us just turned on to subtraction on time tests, and for my first time I got 34, 32 for my first time, even though I'm not ready for it, because I didn't get the test because I was partly sick for the day, so I didn't get to finish, but I'm on subtraction and I did pretty good for the first time.
That's cool. Now in fourth grade we have Brooke. Brooke, what are you doing in fourth grade?
We're learning a new geometry. Everybody likes it. It's a little hard for some people, but they know how to do it.
Like what kind of geometry? What else do you do with geometry?
Sometimes Mr. Weber would help us out, and we have lots of fun with geometry.
That's cool. Let's move on to our final grade, fifth grade. What are you doing in fifth grade, Emily?
In fifth grade, we're learning a lot of decimals and math.
Do you times them? What do you do with them?
We're doing mostly adding and subtraction right now.
Now, what classroom do you switch into when you have
I stay in my homeroom, which is Mr. Modry's class.
Mr. Modry? That's cool. Anything else?
Well, we're also learning about the Olmecs in social studies.
Wow, that's cool. What do the Olmecs do?
Well, they're known for carving big stone heads using only rocks.
Wow, that's cool. I wouldn't think they would do that in what they had.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. These are our grades from kindergarten to 5th. Now we have Ashley and Brooklyn.
Today we had a Veterans Day program. We had two special guests.
Superintendent Bauman and Command Sergeant Major Proder.
We would like to thank all of the participants, especially all of our veterans, for their service.
Be safe, be kind, and be responsible, and show your Cougar pride school-wide.
Really cool thing about him is he is a veteran, so we invited him here today to talk about that. So he's had a lot of important jobs in his life, and we just wanted to recognize him and also have him share just a couple words with you as well. So please clap and welcome Superintendent Bauman.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to come here today to speak about Veterans Day. Do we all know that veterans have been part of our country since before it was actually a country? Did you know that? Yeah. No, maybe not. Since the Army, which this fine gentleman here is wearing an Army uniform started before we were actually a country. Did you know that? Yes, somebody said yes. So my mom and my dad were both veterans as well. So I grew up around the military my whole life. And I was in the Army, like this gentleman here, for 20 years. That's a long time. Yeah. And what I want you to remember, and if you see people, men and women who have served in our military, just give them a thank you once in a while. Is that good? Yeah, okay. Can we all say thank you real loud? One more time. All right, great. Well, thank you for having me. And again, remember that veterans make our country stronger, and veterans defend our country around the world so that you can go to school and you can have a fun time all the time and not worry about other things that might impede that or make that more difficult for you. So again, one more time real loud, say thank you. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So we'll go on with the program, I suppose. So again, thank you all, and work hard, right? Work hard.
We are honored to have a special guest with us today at JFK. Our first speaker is Command Sergeant Major David Lance Porter. He was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. He began his Army career in 1997. He received many awards and decorations as a serviceman.
Good morning, how's everybody doing? Can you hear me? All right, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, faculty, students, and importantly our veterans, thank you for having me here today as your guest speaker. I'd also like to thank you for being here with me today to tribute to our veterans and reflect on all they've done for this wonderful country. Today is a day of tribute, reflection, but perhaps most importantly, a day of celebration. Veterans Day is a triumph for all those who have served, kept us free, and continue to do so today. Veterans Day has evolved over the generation and over the course of our nation's wars. The first, Armistice Day, which would later become known as Veterans Day, was observed with reflective performances by military bands in cities and military posts across America. Rather than pay tribute to what our veterans accomplished to our nation, Armistice Day was a remembrance for all those Americans, service members who died in World War I. Armistice Day was established as a national celebration of the Armistice Agreement that was signed November 11, 1918 in France. The agreement took place at 11 o'clock in the morning and ended the hostilities on the Western Front of World War I. This week marks the 99th anniversary of the ceasefire agreement in the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of the Great War. After World War II, the holiday was widened to honor veterans of both World Wars. When the battles of the Europe fell silent 7 years ago, our World War II veterans came home as heroes. Parades were organized for veterans, the holiday became more festive, less silent, and it was a celebration of American success. When our heroes returned from the Korean War, World War II was still fresh in America's mind. America was moving forward to new prosperity and didn't fully understand the conflict in Korea. The Korean War veterans were in large part ignored, and the conflict became known as the Forgotten War. Vietnam veterans served in combat during troubled times for our nation. Those soldiers returned from war to a country divided. Veterans Day during the Vietnam War often featured argument and protest. The veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan returned from those wars to receive the care that all of our veterans in American history deserve. Society has evolved its perception of our veterans and once again is now able to separate the politics of America's wars from its participants. Today we recognize the heroic sacrifice of all our veterans. As a nation, we now recognize the circumstances in which they fought were not nearly as important as their selfless service to our nation. Veterans are uniquely connected. Whenever America has been threatened, men and women from across this great nation have risen to her defense. Wherever our freedoms have came under assault, we have responded with great strength and purpose. For the past 16 years, not all of our veterans have fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. However, they've all supported the fight, they've all preserved our freedom, and they've done so much for our country. They have deployed from places like Egypt, Kuwait, South Korea, Turkey, and Qatar. They have trained long and hard at their current duty stations across the country to be ready whenever our nation's called. Our veterans understand combat's lasting impact in a way that others don't. We have soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines still recovering in hospitals from wounds in which they will live with for the rest of their lives. There are spouses, parents, children, and families that will grieve for their veterans who did not return. As a veteran, we come to those terms with the loss of our service members and the haunting memories that we have faced. The shared knowledge is the bond we live with, not only on Veterans Day, but every day. The hallowed connection remains throughout the year and throughout the rest of our lives. What I'd like to do is I'd like to tell you a story involving the 2nd Cavalry Regiment baseball, and it involves a baseball glove story. When I think of this military bond, I think of a baseball glove. There's an incredible story of Colonel John Meyer, who was the previous commander of the 2nd Stryker Cavalry Regiment stationed in Germany. It tells the story of an old baseball glove that passed through the hands of 2 American veterans. This story is even more remarkable given the fact that these veterans have never met. 2 years ago, in spring, Meyer's troops rolled into the Czech Republic as a part of their mission to reassure NATO forces in Europe. The soldiers were approached by a 78-year-old man who was overcome with emotion to see American soldiers in his hometown for the first time since World War II. He handed the soldiers a fielder's baseball glove. The glove was an old 5-finger model with a pancake pocket, the kind that had fathers and coaches of another era teaching their kids to play catch with 2 hands. The Czech man told the American soldiers that the glove was given to him as an 8-year-old boy by a GI who came to liberate his town from the Nazis 70 years earlier. During World War II, a GI handed the man, then an 8-year-old boy, a glove and taught him how to catch a baseball. When it was time for the American soldiers to leave the area, the boy tried to give the glove back. But the GI told the boy to give the glove to the next American soldier he'd seen. He'd been waiting 70 years. The glove now sits at the 2nd Cavalry Regiment Museum, passed from one veteran to another to an act of kindness, a testament to the bond between our veterans. May we remain forever bonded by our service and forever indebted to one another's service. In our actions, in our words, in our hearts, we must always be there for one another. Today we celebrate that bond and that service which has preserved this country's freedom and the American way of life. When it comes to the military and civilians, the disconnect has never been more greater. It is the responsibility of us serving and those who have served to close the gap between both sides. America cherishes its military. Our military is perhaps the most trusted and respected institution in the world. But America doesn't really know our military enough. Most of America's population is in cities that have never been around the military. Most Americans do not have family members who have served. Very few have had the opportunity to work with our wounded warriors or our Gold Star family members. This is not the fault of the American citizens. It's largely a result of the military isolating itself from the rest of our nation. On this Veterans Day, I ask all veterans to commit to better engaging within our communities and our fellow citizens, to tell our story personally and throughout social media so that we can become better connected to society which we serve and are a part of. In conclusion, while we have to work on our military and civilian disconnect, we have so much to be proud of. While Memorial Day is a time of sober silence, Veterans Day is a day of triumph. Let's enjoy this wonderful day and pay respect to all that our veterans have done for us. Thank you.